Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's time for the best comic book podcast in the entire world. We've got the comics aficionados with you this Saturday. We got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. First up, we are going to hit this Hellfire Gala event. The promotional materials have gotten worse and worse as time goes by. So we will talk to some professionals in the industry. We'll talk to some longtime fans and see if, I don't know, maybe somebody's got to be excited for this thing. But before we get to that, let's talk to the panel here. We've got, first up from Comics Elite, we got Drew. How are you guys doing out it's in Indianapolis, correct?
That's correct, yes. We're doing fantastic out here. We just did our fulfillment on a Kickstarter, Merc Magazine that came out, and gone very well.
Right.
Well, congratulations. That sounds awesome. Next up, we haven't seen this person on the channel for a while, but Comic Book Hut finally had a weekend open. How you doing, Hut?
I'm doing great. How's everybody doing today?
I think we're doing great. So we've got the New York connection. Also in New York City is Adam Corallo?
Yeah.
Adam Corallo voice impressionist. Joe Corallo. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, Wes. I guess it's a Subway series. So
it's the Subway series. Here we go.
Award-winning editor.
Yes,
absolutely. And we've also got the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado. I imagine people want to hear what Doc has to say. We did record an entire X-Men Hellfire Gala video for tomorrow. I'm sure he's going to chime in here today. How you doing, Doc?
I will keep my comments to the minimum today to let everyone else voice their displeasure, because I got 20-some minutes to do it myself later.
There you go.
And last but not least, we do have the curmudgeon of critical himself, all the way from Tennessee. Pele, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. This is great. I can't wait. I've heard nothing but bitching about this from my customers for like weeks, and I finally get to get it off my chest. So let's
you finally got to give them a free promo this week to get them excited for it. But before that, we do need to say thank you very much to Chris from Comics Exposed for supporting the channel. This is for Doc's first epic rant about all the new dresses for the X-Men. I'm sure Doc's favorite dress is Iceman's. I mean, who doesn't love it? Is that your favorite dress?
I can't decide if I like that. Well, Iceman's is like, it's a dress that only comes like across his stomach.
It's a
like his whole crotch and chest is just wildly exposed. And but Prodigy, I can't decide if I like it the below nipple dress, which for some inexplicable reason, why not? This is somebody just set that building on fire, please.
Well, we don't want anyone to get hurt, but he's meaning metaphorically. Doc doesn't mean it like that.
No,
thank you very much to Chris for supporting the channel. Now let's get into business. We've got to talk about this X-Men Hellfire Gala. It's been a buzz. We've seen there's been like turf wars, TURF on social media, people supporting all this stuff going on, people that hate it in their X-Men. I don't know, Drew, you seem like the most level-headed person here besides probably Comic Book Hut. You are in a comic book shop. What has the response been? Were people excited about the Hellfire Gala guide?
To be honest with you, I have not heard word one about this. We did not get one copy of the Hellfire Gala magazine that came in, copy at all. Didn't order a single copy.
You're so lucky.
Customers have asked for it at all. And I asked our employees, some of them down here, I'm like, do we have this? They're like, no, we don't have any. No. And it's like, okay, I guess no one in our customer base is really talking about it or excited about it. And that's just here. Maybe it's different in different stores, but no one's asked about it.
Trust me, if you had that guide to give away to your customers, you would have heard about it.
Yeah.
There's some crazy stuff going on there. We do need to say thank you very much. Give a shout out to Dark Bobcat, $2 super chat. They're still making comics for Twitter likes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it appears that way. All right, Pele, you were mentioning it earlier. You did have the guide, correct?
Yes, I did.
Did you give it out to your customers?
No.
You didn't
No, I burned them all. No, I ordered some. I had comics. They were specifically asked for by customers, and they got them. And okay. It's some of my favorite customers. Really, I love these guys. They're the more flamboyant customers, and they're really excited for it. And God bless them. I love them to pieces. And but they're the only people I know that have asked, and they're the only people that seem interested whatsoever in the gala, whatever event. So it's for them, and that's great. Good for them.
Well, at least somebody's excited about it. That's the good news. We do have another super chat from Lane.
These are the Project Runway people. This is their comic.
From Project Runway. Lane Kramer says, "Am I wrong that I really want someone to cosplay Rachel Summers' hound dress at Con in 2022 and see if someone gets impaled on one of those spikes?" Now,
Yes.
Joe, you are a regular on the comic circuit for Comic Cons. Do you think we're going to see that? And is that a real threat if you wear that dress?
I don't know if we're going to see that specific costume. If you want to, just go to a Lady Gaga concert. But I mean, I don't know how much of this we'll actually see. I mean, some of it, like Gambit's costume, would be really easy to wear. I don't think you. I guess you're allowed to just walk around shirtless at cons apparently. So yeah, that'd be fine. I don't know. I have so many thoughts on this. I think one of my biggest thoughts on this, because I hate how much I've had to think about this, is if this was years ago, if this was the 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, this would have been a 48-page special, one and done thing, and that would have been fine, and it would have been, there might be a little bit of fanfare, but it would have been like, oh, we're having some the equivalent of like a Christmas special or
swimsuit issue.
Yeah, exactly. And that would have been fine. And I don't think people would have been upset or cared, because it would have been one of those things where it's like, oh, it's 148-page special. And at the time, it would have been anywhere from, $2.99 to $4.99, depending on what era you're looking at. And people would have been like, oh, all right, I'll get it or I won't get it. And the problem is how gigantic this is, and how everything, they hit the pause button. And that's just, this is your month. Unless, other than X-Men Legends, pretty much everything else is crossing into this. I've been reading through some older comics. I'm going through Dan Jurgens' Thor run right now, for example. And I just finished the JR stuff, and it was like, there's like a 4-issue arc of Thanos getting the, Chalice of Ruin to destroy, to basically bring about death and kill everybody. And it's so quaint because it's just a few issues. It doesn't tie into anything else. And if they did something like that now, it would be an omnibus level tie-in War of the Realms type thing. And I think that's the overall thing, because I know we're focused a lot on the X-Men talking about this, but it's more than just an X-Men problem. It's an overall approach from the big two, where they take these little things and go, what if we took this 1-issue idea and made it 40 issues? Mm-hmm. That's the real problem.
It's all the pacing. The pacing is just stretched out.
This would have been a springtime special, like 10 years ago.
And it would have been fine, and people would have either bought it or they wouldn't have bought it.
1 issue. That would have been a one-shot springtime special. Fine, great, this is wonderful. But oh man,
Wes and I did a video that's going to be coming up on X-Men Legends #3. More shit happened in that 22 pages than has happened in about 50 pages or 200 pages of recent X-Men, and it will happen in 270 or 280
probably about 300 pages, because you have a giant size planet size X-Men.
Sure.
That was a fun issue. That was a very fun issue, the X-Men Legends #3. Yeah,
but you got 22 pages that more plot and more story happen than you're going to get in like 300 pages of this stupid fucking event.
All right, Doc, we do have a super chat from Chris from Comics Exposed. I have never seen Bishop look so gay. This is literally the most denigrating and insulting thing that's happened to the X-Men I've ever seen, and I've even read the Chuck Austin issues.
He's not wrong.
So hold on. As a comic book writer, is it denigrating to the characters, Joe? Because I think it is.
I would say it's not so much that Bishop looks gay; he looks like Kanye West there. Like that's like in that like just like the everything. It's just like what are you doing? But I'm not sure how much it's degrading to some of the characters as much as it's just people doing whatever the hell they want to do, and it has nothing to do with the characters. It has nothing to do with that's it. One interesting thing I noticed that recently Kevin Wada was reposting his like high fashion X-Men stuff from like 10 years ago that he was doing. I don't know if that's subtweet or not, but a lot of that stuff again looks really good. It's just like, oh, it's just Magneto in like a red suit. And it's like, okay, got it.
Marvel's got this weird obsession with bringing in fashion designers to do X-Men redesigns. They did it with, they did it with Wada. They did it with Chris Anka, and now they're doing it with Russell Dauterman. And all of them have made the comics more fucking boring.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it is
they're doing it to make it easier to cosplay. I know it. And that makes
these are easy to cosplay for the most part.
Yeah.
There's some crazy stuff going on in here. And how many guys want to dress up as iBoy? It barely covers your crotch.
Isn't iBoy underage?
Yes, and it's really creepy.
Yeah,
it is. There's a couple
he's a high school
in there.
He's a high school student.
Yeah.
And why does Professor X look like a really tacky award to be given out to somebody?
He needs to be on a you won
pedestal.
The X's.
Yes, the X's Awards.
All I have to say, though, in response to this super chat is the same thing I've been saying for like 10 years now. # make Bishop swole again.
Yeah.
That dude used to be goddamn jacked, and now he looks like this wimpy little shit. I can beat him up.
A gun show, though.
I'm going to also comment on the super chat towards the end there. Try reading Chuck Austin's run now, and honestly, you'll be like, this is
actually pretty good.
It's not bad.
Not bad. There are parts of that run that are really that are kind of just as decent as some of the other stuff going on there. I feel like his run gets shit on excessively, and then Grant's run gets too much praise. And it's somewhere, it's meeting in the middle. I still think Grant's run's more solid, but I think people forget that it was like every other issue. It was a new artist on Grant's run. And there were a lot of other inconsistencies that especially make it difficult when you go back to check it out again.
Yeah, Grant's run is a cover band, a really good and a really talented cover band doing Chris Claremont's greatest hits.
Yeah.
And with maybe rearranging some of the songs. That's all it was. So and then over now with Austin, he was on Uncanny. So he was following up the legacy of first Claremont, then Lobdell, then Joe Kelly and Steven Siegel, and then even more recently Joe Casey.
Yeah.
And then he's the one that had to follow that up. And you're sitting there going, this is kind of a letdown. But now you go back and reread that. I will read that 10 times out of 10 over every single Dawn of X or post House of X, Powers of X, X-Men issue. Every single one.
All right, Doc. we heard your point. We do have a super chat. Darth Bobcat, $5. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'd love it if Marvel took these dresses to Project Runway for a crossover promotion and was told they were too stupid or ugly. I don't know. Maybe it would fit in on something like that. Is this Project Runway material? Anybody know? I don't watch that show.
There's a YouTuber who did a video. His name's Just Some Guy. He did a video with Michael Kors reviewing the costumes. I laughed my butt off. I thought that was hysterical.
Yep.
I mean, it was pretty spot on how he got the reviews to each costume. Like that was pretty flipping creative.
All right, well, I'm gonna have to check that. I like Just Some Guys.
It's hilarious. It's only like 2 minutes long. It's great.
Yeah,
I think one of the overall problems here too is a lot of the designs are fine. They're not particularly offensive or not. Like there's a lot of like Wes and I talked about some of it, like Psylocke and Mystique and some of these other ones. They're fine. It's just that there were a few that stand out, and when you're on something like the internet, that's what people gravitate towards and poke fun at, like, you know, Iceman's design and some of these others. But like, if you took out some of the more ridiculous ones, again, if you did that, if it was just a one shot, even an oversized one shot, no one would care. And it's because of some of these really over the top designs and it taking over the line that, you know, it's even a topic of discussion for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I do need to say thank you very much to Kenneth Alec for supporting the channel. I want to say a joyful hello to the panel and everyone in the chat. Joy to the world, all the boys and girls. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. Well, joy to you, Kenneth Alec, and thank you for being here and supporting the channel.
Thanks,
and
Ken.
Definitely appreciate that. So, Comic Book Hut, I got to throw this one to you, buddy. I've seen a lot of people on the internets saying this is it for me on X-Men. I've had enough, and I'm walking away. We know that comic fans like to make these threats from time to time. Do you think they have the gumption to actually follow through with it on this time?
That's a I don't know. I don't think so, because the fact is you can always pick up one of these older books. I was going through this just to take a step back. My first initial reaction was like this was like a weird kind of like steampunk cosplay, but then after seeing this boomerang in the head with Emma Frost, it's like, what? It's ridiculous. But going back to the fans, I don't know. I mean, it's just the stories aren't great. I mean, we've read this. I read this thing with the was it a couple months ago, and it was just dreadful. The tarot cards with T. Howard and with Jonathan.
Ten of Swords.
Right. It was just terrible. I haven't been. I'm not a big X-Men fan, so I'm not really the best person to ask. But it's one of these things that if you're an X-Men fan, I don't know where you can sort of, if you're an old fan.
Hey, Hut, can you turn your volume up a little bit?
Oh, okay. Just got a new microphone.
Ooh.
How's that? Is that a little bit
better?
A little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, if you're an older fan, you're not going to like this. But whether they leave, that I don't know. And I don't know if this is... I mean, there are some designs, just looking at it, that aren't bad. Rogue's design is probably the best one out of all of them. Because that's the most honest to the character. But the rest of them are just playing around. But, they look at... I mean, they probably look at this and say, the creators just don't care. If the creators don't care, then why should I care to purchase some of these books? I mean, that's the one thing I can say, to be honest with you. But
yeah, I kind of get the same feeling. Drew, is that how like the feeling that you get when you see this stuff? Is it that the creators don't care, or that the creator might not like the fans and are trying to push them away?
I hope it's not the latter, but part of me thinks there's a little bit of that as a factor, maybe, but still, it feels more of a focus on the external as opposed to the internal. They're more focused on the aesthetic of the characters as opposed to what's actually going on with the character's actual story. It's like that can only get you so far. But as far as character designs go, the one I like the most is Banshees, outside of the sockless loafers. That one.
Sure.
That one.
He's not wearing his shirt, but he's got a tie on.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
I guess if you're rich, you can be pretentious.
When it comes to fans saying they're going to leave or not, I mean, obviously we see some of that, or else the numbers would still be as high as they were during House of X Powers of 10. It's also a great excuse for me to use one of my favorite basketball quotes from Squeak Scolari. I swear if you guys rip on me 13 or 14 more times, I'm out of here. And I feel like that's a lot of people when it comes to things like X-Men. But
the problem is, for most of us, this is at about time 12.
Because this is more of an Ike Turner Tina Turner relationship right now. Where Tina Turner is getting slapped around. Jeez.
Yeah, eventually. We've been getting slapped around since Matt Fraction fucked up this team by moving them to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Never works out.
And ever since then, it's been pretty bad.
You know, but in terms of it really being about the creators, I do think it's important to talk about the editorial side, because in all the interviews you hear about all of these events, including the Hellfire Gala, they all start with, we came up with this idea, it was going to be 1 or 2 issues, and then editorial was like, what if it was 40 issues? Or, you know, what if it was the whole month? Or what if this was an event? And if you're on the creative end and you come up with an idea that's 1 or 2 issues that turns into 12, 24. I mean, same thing with Ten of Swords. It was supposed to be half as long, and editorial was like, no, this is great, let's double it. If you're working on a book and editorial likes it so much that they want twice as much of it, and they're doing that, why wouldn't you think like, this is great? I mean, they're willing to shell out the money and do all this and keep me going on this book. It's got to be good. So I think it's important to also keep that in mind. It's also in part because the company is backing it with their money on these ideas.
All right, Joe, we got a question from you from Darth Bobcat. Joe, has moving a team to San Francisco ever worked?
Well, here's the thing. If you live in New York and you go to one of the only more places in the country that's more expensive, I question your judgment.
So the answer is no. No.
It's never worked in comics.
Yes. It always makes things worse. It makes your book
Did they move
worse.
Daredevil to San Francisco?
Yeah, and it made that worse
didn't
too.
work.
Oh God, that was a nightmare.
It's time to move Batman to San Francisco and see what happens.
And one of the worst movies ever, The Room, takes place in San Francisco.
They're my number one customer.
We're not really providing a reason why San Francisco still needs to exist, because I'm leaning towards it probably shouldn't.
I liked Full House, man. Don't be saying that. That house is still there.
There you go. Trina Robbins is out in San Francisco. She's delightful.
Keep rich. Absolutely.
Dirty Harry took place in San Francisco. Those are fun.
Oh, hey, look at that.
There you go. But if Dirty Harry had started in New York and they moved into San Francisco, it would have been the sequel no one wanted.
Yeah, Dirty Harry would be like in prison by now. He was a cop in San Francisco. So
I don't know. It feels very frustrating just from a customer standpoint and also from a YouTuber standpoint. I don't want to talk about fashion, Joe. I'd imagine you don't want to talk to me about fashion, but that's essentially the entire promotion for this event.
I mean, I'd love to talk about the David Bowie song Fashion and ranking the songs. I'm a pretty big fan of Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. That's probably might be in my top 5 Bowie albums. Well, you know, that I'd rather talk about that. But yes.
All right, Eric Breen found out the only time it ever worked moving to San Francisco was the Giants.
Hey, that's 60 years ago. Nice.
yeah.
There you go. And that was sports. No one likes sports all around here.
I think I think that would have been closer to 70 years ago now.
70? Jeez. One time in 70 years isn't bad.
Yeah.
I don't know, Pele. How are you going to sell X-Men Hellfire Gala? It's your job. You're the retailer. You ordered the books. I imagine you didn't order completely robust. How are you going to pitch this and sell it to your reader or customer?
Not. You just put them out there, and we put up a poster, but it's just not. It's nothing that was asked for. We've had a mass exodus already from X-Men already. We're down to pre-Hickman numbers now. So
X-Men Red, Blue, and Gold.
Yeah. We're down to X-Men Red, Blue, and Gold numbers now. In fact, it's probably about the same because those are the people that probably never drop X-Men regardless. And everybody else has already went, oh, this sucks. Okay, we're running now. And there's a few of them that are still getting Wolverine and X-Force and a few other books. But, as far as the main title, no. Main title, no. The New Mutants is completely fallen off the face of the earth. Everything else is crap. So, it's just we put them out and put them in people's folders, and we got probably. I think we got about maybe 15 issues extra of each. 15 copies of each, and it's like, we're probably going to end up with some in the quarter bin, the 50-cent bin rather.
I think I've actually figured this out, Pele. Your comment, or the beginning of your comment, kind of, it struck me, and I had to bounce it around in my head. But I figured out what the whole point of all of this is. It's for a 30th anniversary of the Exodus, where all the creators left. Except for this time, they want to make all the fans leave.
That's it. And I do think, and what you were talking earlier when you presented it to Drew, I honestly do believe that there is not an insignificant number of creators at Marvel that are trying to run off the fans. They're trying to run off the old fans. And they don't want them buying their books. They don't want them, being fans of Marvel, customers of Marvel. And they have their own set clique of people that they want to create comics for, and everybody else is just, they're intentionally pushing them out. So, I guess they're doing what they want. They're doing what, they're intending to do. So, congratulations.
I mean, I'm still holding out hope that the gala turns into something where Destiny shows up with Sabretooth and he murders everybody, and then Moira shows up as the new Goblin Queen and burns everything down, and then like stuff like that. That can still happen. It can still happen, right?
I'll buy that.
Apocalypse is going to be there. Deadpool's going to be there. There are definitely going to be some arrivals.
Yeah, these books.
Wolverine's going to stub his toe. He's going to get an ingrown toenail, and that's going to be the apex of the series. And he's going to be like, "Oh, my foot!" And they're going to have to send him to the hospital and,
they
pull his toenail out.
They send him to that garden, and the weird guy with the head that's always got a patch on his head gets to, But
there have been some fine times with what's going on currently at X-Men. If the line was smaller. Again, I don't think there would be as much backlash. Overall, the main X title, Wolverine, X-Force, Hellions have been fine. And that's 4 ongoing titles. That's a lot for any line. Again, it ends up when some of it is just to a certain point where it's attracting a completely different audience. I think that's where you're getting so much of the headbutting, people being upset and all of that. There are a group of people who enjoy the other aspects of what's going on in X-Men. If you weren't constantly forcing both sides or the multiple sides of the fandom to constantly buy each other's books to understand what's going on, I think you'd have a lot less friction here.
Well, if you didn't have specific, and going back to that again, if you didn't have specific creators that are at war with a section of the fan base, an active war with the older collectors and older comic readers, those people consistently trying to make them wince and cringe. And,
I don't think that's really from the X-Men creators, though. At least with their antics. I don't like Teenie Howard's writing, but she seems like she's very nice when she ever does an interview. Leah Williams seems just like a pretty normal person. She just happens to write bad comic books. The only one that I think really goes after fans and is a little bit, antagonistic is Jerry Duggan.
Well, I just, I think that they can act a certain way when they're doing interviews and stuff, but, behind the scenes, they're like, fuck them.
Well, you can only judge them on how they present themselves. I
can judge them by what they make.
Well, yeah, but it might not be.
Here's how I judge it. If there's even any amount of apologetic nature to them for making things that they know are pissing off long-term readers, and not just saying, well, that's the way it is now. In which case, then, as far as I'm concerned, they're doing it intentionally.
Yeah,
and I haven't seen the slightest amount of consternation or, hey, look, I understand you don't like this, but we're getting somewhere with it. Be patient. No, none of that. It's just, this is what we're doing, and it's great. You're gonna like it. It's this smug condescension from that fucking office with no reason.
But this also is
true.
This isn't new, though. When Grant Morrison was doing X-Men, you read those interviews, you read those, the pitch documents they did. They straight up say things like, I refuse to read 90s X-Men. It was terrible. And this was back when there was still some fondness and still a lot of fans who were buying that, who were getting ready to buy new X-Men. And Grant was very upfront about, I think this all sucks.
But then his product was fairly close to it, as far as, at least close enough to quality. The problem is the quality now just isn't there, and it's consistently not there, and it's consistently trying to needle people. And it's Grant didn't do that, and he may have said, he may have talked about, well, if they don't like it, they can piss off. But, at the end, it was still not a bad series. Sure. Now it's just bad. And everybody's like saying, all the old fans are going, and we hear this every day. When are they going to fix this? This is shit. This is not the X-Men. What the hell is going on? And it's like, I shrug my shoulders and I say, I've got 50 years of comics over there in the bins, help yourself. I can't help the garbage that they're making now. And
speaking of, they do have Kenneth Dowling with his $5 super chat. When I see this gal stuff, I say to myself, at least I have my Claremont trades to read. Ha, thank you, Kenneth.
Amen. Way to say it. Good point.
Got her in there.
But I mean, in all honesty, ever since House of M, it's been fairly slim pickings. There are moments of brightness that have popped up. There are some solid books. I mean, we reference Uncanny X-Force. Peter David's X Factor Investigations. I really enjoyed at the time. It was never the best book of the month, but it was never the worst book of the month. It was a nice, steady ship. I liked Age of X. There were a few things that would pop up here and there.
Age of X-Man?
No, Age of X.
Age of X. Age of X. Age of X was probably the least terrible of the events.
Sure, yeah.
They did. Now, you did have a couple of good things after that. You had like Messiah. You had the Messiah trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And you had because that was what? Messiah Complex, Second Coming, and
Messiah War, right?
Messiah War. But you also had Necrosha in there, which wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But for the most point, no, it was mostly really, really bad post House of M.
Yeah, and it's hard to necessarily put it all on the creatives, because one of my favorite creatives is Jeff Lemire, and he wrote one of the just worst, most unforgettable runs on X-Men when he was doing that.
And then he quit. Quit by throwing a temper tantrum.
Yeah,
so Grant Morrison quit the Authority. It happens.
Yeah, and I've never forgiven Grant for that. Fuck him. And fuck his bald head. You're not a wizard, douchebag.
That's great. We got Dark Bobcat saying, "Joe, I appreciate your fairness and devil's advocacy." Is that what are you Jiminy Cricket? Are you the other guy on the shoulder?
I'm just trying to throw things out there based on what I know and what I've experienced. And
if it were a coin flip. If it were a coin flip, like, okay, heads, you get a good story, tails, you get a bad story, which is about what it's been since House of M until Hawks and Pox. It was kind of like, okay, you might get a good one, you might get a bad one, we're going to see what happens. Now it's more like, okay, you've got to hit a bullseye from across the room with both eyes covered, it seems like, to get a really good, story arc out of an X title. And it's gotten far worse than the coin flip, and it's like diabolically bad. in a lot of cases, and it just seems to me that you can't be consistently this bad. I mean, there's bad luck or there's bad, a bad idea, but this is just like the house of bad ideas now. And it's just that's just my thinking on that. It's just, I personally right now am only buying 2 books, and that's Hellions and Wolverine.
Sure.
And I've almost dropped Hellions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I still read them because I get them off the wall, and I look through and I'm like, okay, well, that's not getting any better, and I put it back on the shelf. And a lot of customers are doing that too. It's.
Is that what you guys are seeing at Comics Elite, Drew? Have a lot of people have they left the X-Men bandwagon?
Not exactly. Like I think I said it last time I was on here. One of our business philosophies is judge a book by its cover. If there's a hot cover, it's going to sell. I mean,
yeah,
it'll work for us 9 times out of 10. They'll sell regardless. A lot of times people aren't even reading it; they're just buying it for the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have the collector cover base. Most of these people are readers.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have some customers that are like that. They're just going to buy any nice cover.
Yeah.
And but I think a lot of the people though are the readers because that's just, I guess that's kind of what we've attracted as far as customer base.
So Jamie Anderson has a theory. He says the X office is where good writers go to die. I am inclined to think a lot of these issues begin in an editorial and budgetary limitations. To a degree, I agree with that one, Doc. I do think the editorial oversight and direction is a big problem.
Well, you've got an untalented fool that is running that office, and by the limited amount of experience that I've seen, looking at the rest of that office, they're really not much better. There's no talent, there's no vision there, and any amount of, and I don't believe that Jordan White has the ability to tell literally anybody no. I think he's too much of a spineless jellyfish to say no to any of the creators. It doesn't matter how bad they are. It doesn't matter how unestablished they are. They're all doing something that he wishes he could do, I feel like. And even the untalented hacks that they have on that office are somehow better than him at writing. So no, they need an actual editor in that office. Somebody that has a vision, a direction, that's not just some cliched hipster douchebag.
Well, You Murder That Guy has $2 Canadian. What's the word that means opposite of crescendo? I'm inclined to say nadir, but I'm not a professional writer. Joe is. What's the opposite of crescendo?
Well, Doc just said it.
It's coda.
Well,
yeah.
Well, Doc interrupted me while I was speaking. I couldn't hear. All right, Doc. What's the opposite of crescendo?
It's coda. It's the end.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for supporting the channel. You Murder That Guy. I still say nadir would be an acceptable alternative, as in the bottom point of, I don't know, something. Whatever. Let's get back on to the X-Men Hellfire Gala. Does anyone else have anything else to say before we move on to this Penguin Random House versus Diamond kind of stuff that's going on?
God help us, because it's not getting any better, and I'm really, really, really concerned about the future of comic sales, and it's going to get to the point where all we have left are the cover buyers, and the people that are reading the comics but not actually buying the comics, or they're touting the comics and they're not actually reading or buying the comics, and you can't really make a business out of that. So
I do think there enough pieces are there and plot lines are there that if it gets to a point where they sense that enough people are leaving, like, I don't think this is necessarily the best strategy, but it seems like they're like ready to go with, in case of emergency, break glass and, like, oh no, people are getting like, let's get Destiny and Moira, and Apocalypse comes back and he's a bad guy. Like that, I think they have all these pieces there that if it just seems like people can't take it anymore, they have that like button to push to move
Moira.
things forward. Yeah,
Moira. Honestly, at this point, the only thing I'm waiting for is Cassandra Nova to show up with her 3 mile tall tri-sentinel and murder all 16 million mutants again.
And that could happen. Who the hell knows?
Including all of the 5.
That's not a bad thing at this point.
I mean, at any point there could be an issue where the 5 are just murdered, and anything like that. Like, who knows? There's a lot of stuff here that could happen with that.
All right, well, let's move on. We've got some other things happening in the comic book industry. Apparently, Diamond has been calling out to shops around the country, seeing if they are going to go with Penguin Random House, or they're going to stick with Diamond as their wholesaler in the future when Marvel goes to their exclusive agreement with Penguin. I believe it's October. And we know that Penguin has come out. They've got a demonstration video showing the new packaging that they're going to be using exclusively for comic books. So they have thought, hey, we normally do books. Now we're doing comics. We need to change something up. And they've also are offering free shipping. We knew about that, but they're also adding like a 60-day out pay period. But essentially, you receive the comics, you can sell them. 60 days later, you actually have to pay for them. I don't know, Drew. What are you guys at Comics Elite thinking about this? Are you going to go Diamond for wholesale? You're going to stay with or are you going to go with Penguin Random House? And does it seem like maybe there's a little bit of, desperation on Diamond's part, or do you think they're trying to gauge the market?
Desperation is a stinky cologne, to quote Super Troopers, and that's what it's getting like with Diamond. But freight is huge with us, and not just the cost, but the timeliness of the freight and the tracking of it, which I find can be difficult at times. Mm-hmm. Whichever gets here faster and less damaged, the better for us, and cheaper. So far from what I've seen, I mean, no one has matched Lunar with their timeliness and their packing. It's been fantastic. I mean, getting things a week ahead of time, that's amazing. And we, as far as a Diamond calling stores, we haven't gotten a single call from Diamond asking us if they're for switching to Penguin. They haven't called us at all. So, but I think we will be going with Penguin.
Okay. We've got a bad pitch. I guess we got to cover this one. This is from Michael Kramer. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, for supporting the channel. I imagine you subscribe as well. Bad pitch, spinning from Extreme Carnage, Venom Force, Flash Thompson Venom, and Life Symbiotes seek to rehab the image of symbiotes, return of friendly neighborhood carnage at the command of King in Black. What do you think, Joe? Oh no, he's muted.
Fuck. Sorry. Yeah. Now, the only downside of that is it'll only be a month, but it'll be about 40 issues, and they'll stop advertising it the month before it comes out.
Yeah.
It will last for a month, but it will be 75 issues.
Yeah.
So we've got a bad comic book pitch. When are you guys doing more bad comic book pitches over on Perch there, Joe?
Oh, we'll be doing it soon. We have a bit where we want to get was it one of Perch's friends to sort of be the sort of editor that we're pitching to play the out of touch like lunatic that you have to pitch ideas to. So it'll be fun.
I don't know. I personally would have retired on City of Bruce. You're never going to beat that pitch.
Marvel U, I think, has legs.
Okay, Marvel U is the sequel to City of Bruce.
Yeah,
we've got to pressure Marvel into making it.
If people didn't hear that pitch, what Marvel U was, it's all comics done in the, from like that first person perspective. So you're the character. So everyone's complimenting you and telling you how great you are.
Oh my God.
And the best part is you'll never get another like Todd McFarlane because they're never actually drawing the hero in it because it's you and you don't see yourself.
Oh,
just empty pages.
Perfect. You can imagine what the character looks like because you're the character. What would I look like?
It's you.
Just mirrors. Selling with mirrors. The pages are just mirrors, and then you flip to the next mirror and the next mirror, and they get you to buy a book of mirrors.
It all depends on who you're. It depends on who. It all depends on who your character's walking behind.
Yep. Now, yeah, wasn't that what year was that? Where like the Times Person of the Year was you, and it was like a reflective, like.
I think it was 2016.
Okay, yeah.
Because, I think it was after the election, but they didn't so it might have been 2017.
Okay, yeah.
They didn't want to make it Trump, so they said you because you people elected him, or
it was some weird. The logic on it was absurd.
Oh, that was 2006. Apparently, that's 2006.
Oh wow!
Oh my God!
So far off.
Okay.
It's not
far off.
I was off by a decade. Fuck, I'm old.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Lane Kramer. There are going to be more bad comic book pitches coming in the future, and definitely want to hear more from you guys if you have them. So getting back into the Diamond Penguin Random House comic book hut, this seems like a big deal. I believe you are a Marvel Comics fan. Have you talked to your shop? What are their thoughts on this Diamond Penguin kind of debate that's going on? And do you think people are going to stick with Diamond just because that's the devil they know?
Well, I think that just sort of thinking about it a little bit, Diamond had this monopoly all these years, and it seems everybody was very unhappy with the arrangement with the stores. And it seems like with the Penguin coming in, that they're offering new things to the shops. And now you sort of see this back and forth where I guess Diamond's calling, like you said, all these different places. It seems like you're seeing something very healthy. You're seeing some competition to try to get these stores, stay with us, blah, blah, blah. So it's just sort of going through this, and I thought it was just interesting, reading some of the things you sent me about Diamond, and you actually get to see them hustling a little bit, actually working to do their best to keep their customers, which is their stores. And you're seeing all these different things where they have, Penguin offers like their own representatives to the stores where they're actually talking to the people, to these owners, and so you see the market really doing something for the actual stores to keep them, just sort of giving them options. But it seems like Diamond didn't give them a lot of options, and the 60 days, after delivery, having to pay and not having to do it up front, that's great for a store. I mean, I was at my store the other day, and the stacks of books that they have just sitting on the shelves is just insane. From just 2-3 years ago, that's still sitting there. And
it's the money invested just sitting on the shelf waiting for someone to come and claim it.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I would point out that I have a little background from the past in retail, like say from Rite Aid and from a couple other places, and you can get credit on magazines. So if you have magazines on the shelves for 3-4 months, you can ship them back to wherever you're getting them from. With comics, you can't do that. So with the stores, the comic book stores, they're like, it's like a gun to their head. You're going to take these books or else. And I would point out too, this could just go quickly back to this Hellfire Gala. They had an enormous amount of stacks of free copies. And I was also told from the past that when they had the previews, that Marvel always overshipped the preview books like crazy. They always overshipped everything. So, I don't know how it is with the Penguin now, but, the stores, that doesn't seem like they, hopefully they don't get like stuck with more copies of books than normally. I don't know how it is now, but this is great competition with Diamond versus Penguin. It's just I think you're seeing something that we haven't seen in comics in a long time with stores not having to deal with one company to ship their books. So it was a very interesting thing to read, and that's sort of my take on it. But I don't know how the rest of you guys thought about that.
Pele, as a retailer, are you excited that that Diamond is going to have to up their game, and do you think they're going to rise to the challenge?
I'm pretty excited that I can just get away from Diamond at this point. Look at Joe's face. It's true. At this point, I'm just happy to get away from them. It's like, okay, I'll still have to buy indies and stuff from them. That's going to be unavoidable, I guess, till everybody just moves to Lunar. But it's just a nightmare. Anytime I have to get something from Diamond, it's just like cringing, wondering if it's going to be in one piece or, wondering, what they fucked up this time. And it really is. It's that bad. And you add on the free shipping, you add on this net 60 terms, which I love net terms. Anybody's going to give me, it's free money basically.
Pele, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you deal with Diamond and you call them, so you have an issue, do you email them? Do you call them on the phone? And if you do, is it somebody different all the time?
It depends on the issue. Usually it's email. I'm like, dude, we only got 5 issues of this. We ordered 50, stuff like that, or, just something like that's an email. But if it's something severe, then I've got a contact number. But it's and usually I can talk to I usually talk to a rep.
Do you feel like you have a personal relationship with them, or it's very cold with them?
I did, and then the person that I had a really good relationship with quit.
Yeah.
Right.
And now it's kind of like I'm in the pool, and there's a pool for my region, and it's like, oh, I got stuck in the pool.
How is it with Penguin?
It's representatives. It's sort of like a pool, I guess. But it's a situation where it's more professional. It feels more professional. It feels more prompt.
Professional.
And it's more like, dealing with a real customer service professional instead of dealing with Jim Bob, who also happens to answer phones at Diamond. And that's a problem. It really is, because a lot of these people, we're the retail customer for these distributors. Not the end customers. The end customers, end readers, they're our customers. And Diamond never figured that out. Sometimes they had good reps, but most of the time they never figured that out. They were just like, oh yeah, you're just the people, cause you buy from us because you don't have a choice.
Well, that's the point.
That's a fact. Yeah,
that was the point. They didn't have to have good customer service because they were the only game in town.
Yeah, and now they're back on their back. They're back on their heels, and they're going, "Oh shit, we have got to clean up. We have really got to work for it now, because we're going to lose everything if all of our customers bail." And I just don't want to deal with a company like that. I really don't. I don't want to deal with somebody that feels like they have to clean up their image just so they can actually sell product. I'd rather somebody that does it because they just have good ethics to begin with. And
granted, I was young, but I was close with the guy that was my LCS owner growing up. And he said that, back in the day, he would deal with Capital and he dealt with Diamond. He said back whenever there was Capital, there was Heroes World, and there was Diamond. Diamond's customer service was significantly better. It was after the consolidation. I mean, this is what happens in any monopoly. You become a monopoly, and you all of a sudden you don't have to give a shit anymore. You can keep. Why do you think Windows got so bad in the 90s and early 2000s? Because they didn't have to compete with anybody. Who the fuck else was going to make an operating system for you? You weren't going to go and buy a Mac.
Yeah,
because they sucked.
At the time, they did.
Yeah, and nobody knew how to use Linux or Unix, because Linux didn't even have a GUI at the time. So, but then you ended up with, then after Apple kind of had their resurgence around the early 2000s, they started having competition, and all of a sudden, Windows XP got launched to actually be a competitor, because what was it before that? 98 and
Oh, Millennium.
2000.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus
Millennium,
God.
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Oh.
Windows Millennium is what happened. Is the Diamond Comics was the Diamond Comics of operating systems, because they
It really
didn't have
was.
any competition. They could just half-ass the work.
Yeah,
And
it really was. It was that bad.
There's some other things too, like I know one of the articles you shared with us, Wes, and I know this from at least one store owner that I know pretty well. They would allow like cash on delivery, and there were some struggling stores that could only get cash on delivery, and they couldn't always pay, and they would pay for as much of the stock as they could, and the rest would be returned. It's just that's not a workable model. It's nonsensical, but they would do stuff like that. And then in terms of publishers, Diamond would allow publishers to be up to 2 weeks late on delivery of product without any penalty. Like, you wouldn't have to resolicit. So that's why for a lot of indie publishers and smaller publishers, sometimes a store would order something and you don't get it for a week or 2 weeks after you're supposed to get it, because there were no penalties or anything like that. You wouldn't have to resolicit. If it was after 2 weeks, you'd have to resolicit. So some stuff like that, I think, would end up changing overall with Penguin being involved.
So does anyone else have anything to say about the Diamond Penguin Random House thing? It sounds like Diamond is a bit desperate. They're going to change some of the terms of service. They are going to be offering free shipping, trying to be competitive with Penguin Random House is kind of rolling out with what they're going to be doing. Don't know that it's going to work, but there are certainly some stores that are going to be willing to stick around because they know Diamond so well.
Yeah,
I think that there's... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, if Penguin snatches up the highest stores in terms of, like, if they get, your Graham Crackers, your Midtown Comics, your Third Eye Comics, and some of the larger chains, that's going to be such a blow. It's going to be hard for them to do anything about that. I forget the exact number, but it's something like 500 shops make up like 80% of like Diamond's business, and the remaining, like, whatever it is, 14, 15 or so 100 stores make up the other 20. So yeah, that's gonna be hard if they move over. And I would be shocked if places like Midtown Comics, Graham Crackers, and Third Eye didn't move to Penguin. Like, why wouldn't you?
Now, one thing to keep in mind, Penguin is mostly used to packing hardcover books and paperbacks where minor damage is not really a major issue. Mm-hmm. So there will be they have been doing some comics for a while now. So they got
a video out, Doc, basically showing retailers how they're going to be packaging. They have a whole new system for packaging comics and distribution.
Okay. All right.
I've talked to them. That's one thing I stressed with them. I said, this is a collectible hobby. All right. Condition. I mean, I'm sure that other people have told you this, and I was like, but, we get in stuff that's below a certain threshold, we can't sell it. Mm-hmm. I won't sell it below a certain threshold. And, make sure that it comes to us in the new near mint condition, then we can work. And I cannot, just the final thing, I cannot stress how important it is to certain shops and other customers, the 60-day terms. That is awesome. That's going to save so many shops, that are just struggling right now, that they're like, God, I can't pay the COD. What the hell am I going to do? And that's going to really bail a lot of shops out right now. And
one other thing that I wanted to, now on the 60-day thing, I mean, Penguin's well capitalized enough to do that. Diamond still isn't. Mm-hmm. And now there's going to be a lot of shops that still owe Diamond money that it's going to be hard for them to leave. Mm-hmm. But, and then the final thing though is, the one thing you're probably not going to get from Penguin Random House that you do still get from Diamond is those, especially on the ratio variants, where they do the stock clean out once a quarter. where you can reorder a lot of those, what's left, because Penguin's likely not going to do that. They're likely going to store for a month or two, and then wholesale out to places like Ollie's the same way that they do with overstock and unsold inventory on prose books. So that quarterly where you can buy them up at cost and you don't have to hit the ratios to buy those things, that's probably going away if you go to Penguin Random House.
They actually sent an update about that. They said limited ratio. I don't know if it said ratio. It said limited variants will be placed up on a as available type item, and they're just going to put them up, and anybody can buy them after a certain. I think it's after.
Okay, so they're
after 90 days.
Same way that Diamond does.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Except for Diamond, it's more like, "Are you our buddy?
Yeah.
Do we really like you? Do we really like you? Then you can come and get these."
The email comes to you guys before it goes to everybody else.
Yeah.
So I do need to say thank you very much to Marvel 2099 for the 10, I believe it's pounds we got from England. Something to support the channel. Thanks for all the entertaining discussions. Catch everyone next time, and we will catch you next time. Thank you very much. If you need to catch this in your car, there will be a replay on Sunday on the podcast channel. Also, just a reminder, the comic book wrap is live and ready to listen to if you like to listen to podcasts. So thank you very much for supporting the channel. Very much appreciated. We've got another topic. This one's going to be fun. We're doing more, discussions, not about, just news. We're going to talk about some of the things that we love. And today we're going to talk about our favorite comic book collections. First up, Comic Book Hut. I know you are an avid reader. What is your prized possession as far as your comic book collection? What is the one thing that you will never get rid of?
Boy, that's a good one. I have really 4 big collections that I have. That I really haven't. I'm not going to sell them. I'm not going to give them away, and that I have, and I have a big, Fantastic Four collection. I have almost all the issues of John Byrne's run. I think I have almost the entire Tom DeFalco, Paul Ryan run, and I'm going through all these sort of old classics, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby run, and I recently reviewed the Coming of Galactus, the Epic Collection. And those are really just great stuff. The thing about that Tom DeFalco, Paul Ryan run is it gets kind of forgotten because it happened in the 90s. And it was just a lot of melodrama around it. You sort of you introduced Alicia was a Skrull when Johnny married her. And you had the Wolverine, that big battle between the new Fantastic Four and the old Fantastic Four. And Wolverine scarred up the thing, what was great about that story was they didn't give you an instant payoff because you knew the thing was going to get him at some point later on in the series. But that you had the teenage Franklin Reed Richards was gone for a while. You had the Namor part of the team, and it was just one of those great series. Now, like I said, I had the 4 big collections, which is the Fantastic Four, Amazing Spider-Man, which I have every issue, I think, since issue 252 up until about 352 or whatever. And that had, the Tom DeFalco Ron Friends run, which was great. And you went into Eric Larson and Mark Bagley and Todd McFarlane. And those are just great stuff. Now, I recently had given a couple of books away to a friend of mine. And I think I kind of blew his mind away with some older issues. But also love the Captain America, but did not really a lot of great stories with Cap back in the 80s, although I would point out I have some of the John Walker when they introduced John Walker, but not a lot of great stories. And I have obviously the Brubaker run, and pretty much the entire run, which is awesome. And then my other big collection that I have is the Mighty Thor, which I was surprised I was going through it, and I didn't think I had so many of the Walt Simonson stuff, but I have some of the issues from that, but I have most of the run with the Tom DeFalco, Ron Friends. I'm a big fan of that team. I think people sort of forget about them a little bit, but they were very prolific during the 80s and 90s, and it's funny, I was thinking about the Mighty Thor and how they introduced Eric Masterson, and they was the everyman hero. And Donald Blake wasn't really like that. He was created by Odin and all that stuff. But it was interesting that he was so popular that he led into Thunderstrike, which I have the entire run of that. That I'll never give up either. But those are some great stuff. And just sort of going back to Amazing Spider-Man, you had during the Falco Friends run, you had the introduction of the Rose as a gangster having to deal with the Kingpin. You had the drama around the Hobgoblin, who he was, and they didn't really. There was no payoff to that. Disappointingly, they did like a payoff after they left as a team, and then you had the 2-issue story with Spider-Man fights the former Herald of Galactus, Fire Lord, and also the big thing that happened during that run is the Black Costume Spider-Man gets introduced, and you have MJ telling Peter that she knew that he was Spider-Man that whole time. But those are my 4 favorites in terms of just collections from the past.
So you got Fantastic Four, Amazing Spider-Man, Thor, and Captain America.
Right. Those 4.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, the Captain America stuff, the one thing about the 80s was that Mark Greenwald, he was creating all these, because, Cap didn't have a lot, and he still doesn't have a great rogues gallery. But every month he was coming up with these different villains. And probably the most significant villain that he came up with was Crossbones during that time. Other than that, and maybe the Scourge of the Underworld was part of that too. But they're really, I mean, very prolific in terms of creating all these different villains. But other than that, that's not a great run. I have a lot of those issues, so I have a pretty good idea of it. And a lot of it's hooky. He goes crazy with the D-Man. But I get a real charge talking about those particular issues. And like I said, the Fantastic Four, you can't get any better than that.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about the Fantastic Four on the channel on Tuesday with Eric Breen and Joe Corallo, and you're going to enjoy that one. Cool. We've got Moon Knight chiming in. He says Daredevil #1 from 1964 and Werewolf by Night number 32 are his prize collections. We've got LK. Over the last years, I put together the complete Peter David Supergirl run and an entire Dazzler run. That is well done, my friend. Old School Comics, my complete run of ROM. I'm assuming that's the Robot Warrior comic in Flash Volume 2. Mako's prize possession is the entire Hickman Fantastic Four. What else? We got You Murder That Guy. I like my Daredevil Nacinti run, my full O'Neill Queston run, and a full Legends of the Dark Knight run. Those are fun reads. And we've got Kenneth Dowling supporting the channel with the Tom DeFalco's Amazing Spider-Man is very underrated. I have a number of his issues, never parting with those.
Nice.
My number 1 book that I have is Amazing Spider-Man number 56.
There you go. Very nice.
Yeah.
And thank you very much to Kenneth Dowling for supporting the channel. All right, who else has got a comic book collection? Drew, do you have a collection? What's your prized possession?
You're muted.
Oh, he's muted. I muted you earlier when you're moving shelves.
You're still muted.
You got unmuted on the screen. If you go down to the bottom.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Hooray!
So my mom raised 4 boys on her own. She didn't have favorites. So like me, I don't have my favorites, but I did narrow it down to my top 3 I've got. I've got here with me my Death and Return of Superman omnibus.
Nice.
Now, what makes it special is that Jerry Ordway remarked it to me, signed by Carl Kessel, Roger Stern, Tom Gramay, and personalized from Dan Jurgens, and personalized from Louise Simonson. Like I met.
Oh, Wheezy.
Yep, she is amazing. I love her. She's awesome. And I've got my Absolute Kingdom Come, personalized to me from Alex Ross and Mark Waid. And I've got my complete Frank Miller Batman, signed to me from Frank Miller. Those are probably my 3 prized possessions because they personalized to me.
How much would you take? Seriously.
$5,000.
Okay, well, we'll let you keep those then. That's a little bit out of my price range. We've got some other people chiming in. Tevye Smokeless says, I have the entire Adventure of the Super Sons run. That is worth its weight in gold. I think that you are going to find that's actually worth a lot of money eventually. George Renda has Amazing Spider-Man 200 to present day. So he's Are you going to be a completionist? That's the story. That's the question. Are you going to go back and get the entire run? That would be a very expensive endeavor. Sindane TSP. I'm only missing 7 books from my Amazing Spider-Man run starting in 1963.
Nice. Yes.
Wow.
That's amazing. It's a lot of long boxes.
That's amazing. That is a hard thing to do. Congratulations.
Nice.
That is something to cherish. We got Lade Kramer. I managed to track down Venom, Lethal Protector, and Separation Anxiety miniseries, some of my favorite Venom stories. Also tracked down all the Maximum Carnage storyline. Who else we got? We got anything else? We've got Shingala. For what it's worth, I have 27,000 comics. All Legion of Superheroes books are the ones most treasured by myself, along with any comic from the 30 to 30 cent era, circa 1970, 1978.
I think he means the 30 to 35 cent.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joe, this is a man after your own heart. Legion of Superheroes. He's got the entire run.
Yeah, no, that's really great. That's great stuff. I've got some signed Legion stuff. Let me see. I got a couple of archive editions signed by Jim Shooter and things like that. I have a bunch of stuff. I can't narrow it down, so you're just gonna have to bear with me for a minute here.
Nobody can narrow it down.
One of the things since Comic Cut mentioned it, I do have a quick Thor sketch I got from Walt.
Nice.
There you go.
That was very nice. I got the out of print Fall of the Mutants oversized hardcover signed by, was it Bob Wycheck, Chris Claremont, Louise Simonson, Walt Simonson, and Peter David.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that was a good one.
You could kill somebody with that.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
I own way too many
blood
omnibuses that you can just murder people with.
Yeah.
This one's sad, but my Ironmonger hardcover signed by Rich Buckler, Herb Trimpe, and Denny O'Neil.
Wow.
So it kills me.
Wow.
And I got another thing. I have a few things signed by Denny, but the out of print, the Marshall Rogers collection.
That sucker's not cheap. I know that.
No, it is not, and it's gorgeous. And one thing I'm really proud that I got the chance to do. I edited a book that Denny O'Neil did a story in, and I got to do a signing with him at Forbidden Planet in New York. Him, a few other people, Stuart Moore, Mindy Newell, Carl Potts came to the signing. Like it was a really nice time, and that's it's a cherished memory for me. And then the other thing here too is this is one of my favorite Batman runs that they finally collected in hardcover a couple of years ago. Was the Jerry Conway Batman run, just in chronological order in its entirety. It's they got to do that with the Doug Menk stuff. They haven't done it yet with the pre-crisis stuff.
That's a lot.
I sound like a broken record, but a lot of the pre-crisis Batman and even a good chunk of the Superman stuff is really good. And I hate that DC is like so ashamed of their pre-crisis stuff and have bungled releasing it. It blows my mind that they don't have collections, either omnibuses or soft covers, of just like a chronological Superman and Batman the Bronze Age. Like, I don't get it. Like, make it easy for people to read these things. Like, there's a lot of filler. There's a lot of like stuff where it doesn't matter, but there's a lot of one and done and 2-part absolute gold stories in there that are lost and have just been memory holds because DC won't collect them, and they really should.
Same with Legends of the Dark Knight; those have never really been collected at all. And there's some gold in there, and they've never been. It's just crazy.
Yeah, they put out weird collection. Like they'll randomly put in some of those like Tales of, like from Marshall Rogers and some of these other ones where it's like, oh, the issues they drew, but you can't just get just a chronological just trade or anything like that. And whenever you go back issue diving for some of the stuff, it's all over the place. It's just random issues here and there. I hate how that all worked out, but
You know what I love, Joe, is people are definitely responding on this. They want to talk about their prize collections. Lane Kramer says, I finished my Batman in the Tom King run and trade. That was a smart move. Fatal J, he hasn't been on the channel a while, but we've been talking. He's going to come back. I think I might go on his channel to talk about the Snyderverse. Is that guy in the red shirt Wes's brother? No, not all white people look the same, Jay. Why would you even say that?
Yeah.
Look at our skin tones. We're not even. He's whiter than I am. That doesn't happen very often.
Whiter than Sarah Green. Jeez, come on.
Jeez, we might both be Irish. I'm not certain about that.
Oh, I'm Irish, so there you go.
We're both Irish. Jamie Anderson, a man after my heart. I have all the Teen Titans related books from 1964 to 2011. Nice. Well done, sir. That is a collection worth treasuring. Nice. We've also got Jeff Stout, my full run of Stan and Jack's Fantastic Four and Burns' Fantastic Four.
Oh,
Fantastic
nice.
Four is his most prized, though. Yes, it is. Congratulations.
That is awesome.
Yeah, you should. I hope that's in a safety deposit box. Yeah, let's just put it that way. Because
especially those
worth a couple of dollars there.
Especially those first 50 or 60 issues of the Stan and Jack run. Damn.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh yeah,
that is.
Everything through when Dr. Doom steals the power cosmic from Silver Surfer is just like, it's gold. I mean, I think it really picks up when they introduce the Frightful Four, like around there. So like the early 30s straight through issue like 60 is just it can't be beat. It's just incredible.
It's hard to get anybody to part with Fantastic Fours now that are like pre-issue 70.
Yeah,
it's like pre-70. Even some of the 70s runs with Silver Surfer. So like pre-80 now, pre-issue number 80. It's really hard. You got to pay top dollar to get them to sell.
Thank you guys for sharing all this wonderful stuff. We've got Nola Nerd. Who dat? My prize collection is nearly the entire run of Mighty Thor, Thor, God of Thunder, Unworthy Thor, Thor, King Thor, every Winter Soldier appearance. I have an entire run of Captain America and Falcon. Very nice. And probably my Stern Romita Jr. run on Amazing Spider-Man, Miller's run on Daredevil. Nice. Simonson's run on Thor. Man, you guys have some great collections. We have the best viewers on YouTube. I'm putting it out there. They have the best collection.
Oh, yeah.
He's also got Burns run on Fantastic Four and Anything Starlin. Decepticon King. I got Secret Empire by J. Scott Campbell, all of them. The one that makes the poster 2 signed, and then Super Rare number 1. Awesome. We've got Jordan Fugate with the $4.99 super chat. I have the first issue of Court of Owls run signed by both Snyder and Capullo, and the IDW relaunch of TMNT signed by Eastman.
Oh, nice.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing. So Scott Snyder and Capullo on Court of Owls. That one is probably going to be worth. That's going to be a key issue eventually. Yeah. Once they become a little bit more rare. So definitely keep that one in your collection. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Trey Michael, Wonder Woman, Phil Jimenez, Omnibus, Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, Super Sons, Omnibus, all Superman, Batman 2000s run, Teen Titans, Jeff Johns run to death, and a Return to Superman Kingdom Come Emperor Joker. Nice.
Solid.
What else do we got? We've got Jeff Stout. He came back in with the super chat. My full run of okay, we already talked about that. So, well, thank you for supporting the channel. I'm trying to catch up. Everyone has so many cool things that they want to talk about in here. And Doc's just champing at the bit to talk about his. But we've got Gogol 13, my Daredevil run 10, 11, 13, and 24 through 29, with some issues signed by Miller, Jansen, Bendis, Malieve, Max Smith, Quesada, Palmiado, Soul, Brubaker, Wade, and Sammy.
Very nice.
We got any other? Wow. Everyone's got better collections than me.
I got stuff that's I don't have it here, but I got the Absolute Authority Volume 2 signed by Miller and Quitely. Which
I need to get my Volume 1 and Volume 2 signed.
Yeah.
I have my Absolute Crisis, the original. The Crisis on Absolute or on Infinite Earth's Absolute edition. That one I have George Perez signed.
Nice. Yeah. And then I have the 2 Absolute Planetaries, signed by Ellis and Cassidy.
Yeah, I need to get mine signed too.
All right, Doc. Here's what you're showing.
All right.
Showing us here?
I am showing now. These are just the individual books that are probably my top 5. in my collection. X-Men 1, Hulk 181, giant-sized X-Men #1, X-Men 94, and a relatively high-grade X-Men 101.
Nice.
I'd say collection-wise, like these are like my top 5 books. Like when I bought that X-Men 1, I carried it around with me, like
Did you cry?
through the house. I carried it around with me through the house and basically would just like pet it from time to time for like a week. It basically didn't leave my hands. I'd set it on a table and like, you know, when I was going to eat, I'd put it in the chair opposite me and like have a conversation with it. It didn't really talk back. I was disappointed. But you know what? It's not the highest grade, but it's mine. Damn it, it's mine. And now the my collection wise, like whole runs, I'd say my damn near, like I'm missing a total of 50 total books in my X-Men 1 through 600, including all reprints and variants. I'm down to missing about 50 books total. Most of them are in that reprint era. 2 of them are like some ultra rare variants. But I got almost all of 1 through 10 now. I think I'm only missing 4. And that one's going to be, I waited too long to pull the trigger on that. And then after WandaVision, it got stupid expensive again. So I'm like, I'll wait. And then, because I've already completed my adjective list, X-Force, X-Factor, Wolverine, Cable, New Mutants, Young X-Men, New X-Men, and X-Men Legacy, complete 100% done, no variants, including variants and reprints. And then, but that's very close to, I have the complete Wildstorm universe from start to finish.
Oh.
Wow.
Very nice, Doc. We've got a few other customers or viewers here. DGC, my top book was X-Men. I had issues 112 through the mid-2000s. What else? We've got Everett Todd. Welcome back. We haven't seen you in a little while. Probably my absolute edition, DC, The New Frontier. Very well done. We're going to try and do a comic book retrospective on that book, even though it's so enormous. Jamie Anderson also has the first appearance of Captain Marvel Jr., Happy, the Marvel Bunny, and the majority of Mac Robbie's Master Comics run. Mm-hmm. What else we have? Highest value comic is Blue Beetle #1 from 1967. Very nice. We got, what else we have? Okay, I do have an X-Men #1 signed by Claremont and an Alpha Flight #1 signed by Burt.
Very nice.
Decepticon King, is that Tankers #1? Is that the one from Venditti? That would be my prized possession too.
Yeah.
Bader Saku, Lock and Key #1, Kenneth Dowling. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. As I said before, I own Marvel Milestones, Amazing Spider-Man Volume, and Origin of the Hobgoblin. These trades mostly complete Roger Stern's run on Spider-Man. My favorite Spider-Man writer with John Romita Jr.
Nice.
Roger Stern's a legend. He's often, he seems to be forgotten a lot of times, just how prolific he was.
Yeah, oddly, yeah. Especially like his Avengers run.
Yeah,
his which is really good.
Yes, loved it.
You know,
I think
Under Siege. I loved Under Siege.
Yep.
Yeah.
He gets so good, but he gets lost in that era of David Michelini, John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Walt and Louise Simonson, because they were blowing the doors off everything, and Roger Stern was just making this steady, great run on Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. All right, so thank you very much, Kent Dowling. Jasper Play 9. I own every one of those creator-focused Batman hardcovers.
Nice.
Jamie Anderson has got the second Man of Steel series signed by Bendis.
Nice. Wow. I got my House of M oversized hardcover signed by Bendis.
And Kenneth Dowling wants Doc to know that he loves your top 5 books. Awesome.
I forgot one thing too that's not necessarily top 5, but it's hilarious. But I should show it. But I have the X Factor omnibus, and it's signed, or the Ecstatic, sorry, and it's signed by Mike and Laura Allred, but also Paul Pope, who was high out of his mind and drew an awful dupe in it that says "I hate dupe."
Oh god!
And,
there you go.
he signed it before I gave it to Mike and Laura Allred, and I told him, I'm like, hey, just so you know, Paul signed this, and it's weird. And Mike opens it, doesn't say anything, and then Laura just looks up and goes, "We love Paul."
So George Renda says X-Men Legends #3 is classic. Well, we got a review on that later today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What else we got? All the DC Crisis, every one of them. Nice. You got anything else?
Pele.
Right.
What's yours?
I was going to act like we forgot about Pele, but I do need to say thank you to Nolan.
Just skip me. Just
DC
skip me.
Image and indie crossover. That seems
I'm
like it would be
perfectly
very
fine with
expensive. And then Kenneth Dowling, that's Marvel Milestone, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 22. Very nice. All right, Pele, I'd save you for last because I imagine you have the most badass collection that you want to talk about.
My badass collection. I mean, I've got a lot of expensive books, but my books from my dad that were part of his core collection while he was growing up and while he was in the military and even on up into when I was a little kid. And those mean everything to me. I can never part with any of those. And it's about 2,200 books total. And those were all he collected throughout his whole life as a kid. And I've got all those now. And and I love them dearly. They're the core. They started out my whole collection. I think at last count I was around 104,000 comics. Just a little over 100,000. But probably as far as beyond my dad's books that mean a lot to me are it took me so long to get them together was my pre-Robin Batman Detectives. 27, 28, all the way up to 38. Those are my, I've even got books that are worth more, but Detective 27 through 38 are my favorites because they're just, that to me is what pure Batman was. And as before it was, I don't mind Robin. It's fine. It's just, those are really treasured. And I went through hell getting those when I was in my 20s. Because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have anything like that. Travel to Cincinnati. Somebody has a Detective 30. You got to go talk to him, And it was really hard back then to get together, that particular series of books. And my Batman #1, that again went through hell trying to track one down. It was like right after the stupid Michael Keaton Batman movie came out, and they, it was just everybody was trying to buy one, and it was just hard to locate one that they didn't want like a fortune for. And I still got a really nice copy, and ended up spending more than I wanted to, but it was fine. You got to understand, books weren't what they are now. When I bought those books, Detective 27, Batman #1, they weren't like they are now. They're still expensive, but it wasn't like, oh my god, like they 8 figures.
They weren't a very nicely apportioned pickup truck price.
Yeah. Now,
yeah.
Pele though, when that really awful Michael Keaton Batman movie, did that come out before that really awesome one in 1989?
I do like that Batman movie, but it was just what it did to the comic book values, because I was trying to buy those books at the time, and it was like, oh god, no, damn it. It's why I was so pissed off.
Mr. Mom.
Like, fuck you! I'm trying to buy these, and I'm trying to track these down. And but yeah, that's those are the run right there. My Captain America run, my Golden Age Captain America run. Love those because another series, because they're just hard to really find in high grade that weren't restored, and I just had to go through hell just trying to even track them down. That's what I love about the Golden Age is I love the hunt, because you don't have to hunt for Silver Age and Bronze Age books. It's like you have a plethora to choose from. You can go to a big comic shop, Metropolis Comics, something like that, and they've got like one of every issue, 4 or 5 different grades, and you can pick and choose. But Golden Age books, it's like you may not see another one come up at a show for like 10 years, so it's really hard to track that stuff down. But yeah, those are the ones that means the most to me. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Oh, my Cerebus collection.
Thank you to everyone for sharing. There's some amazing comic book collections out there. I'm like, wow, we've got some of the most serious comic book collectors in the viewership. That stuff was crazy. That was a lot of fun. We'll do something else next week. But let's get back to business and talk about some of the not so nice stuff that happened this week. Comic Book Hut. I imagine you heard about Madefire, one of the competitors in the digital comic space that was kind of like the backbone of Archie Comics app, the Boom Studios app, Scout Comics. Are you a digital reader? Is this something that you've tried to avoid or that you got caught up in?
No, I'm not into digital comics at all, actually. I don't think I've ever read a digital comic. So I'm all into the physical copy, but
does this make you more or less inclined to buy a digital comic?
Well, make me less inclined, because if they're gonna completely shut down the app, you lose all this material that you wanted to read. I mean, that I guess is unlimited on this app. So if you paid for it and then you lose everything, I mean, it's just a complete total waste of money. And it's not right that they took the app down. But that would make me very nervous to do this with any kind of platform to be able to read stuff. I mean, it's one thing if you get it through Marvel Comics, one of the big companies, but get through one of these small ones and it's all gone.
I've always said the problem with digital media in general, and it's not limited to comic books,
right,
is that you are indefinitely leasing any product you're paying purchase price for. Yeah. That's it.
You don't own it. Amazon's come out and said you do not own these movies. I've always been a complete proponent of buying physical, regardless of what it is.
And alternatively, because what you're doing when you buy digital is you're essentially paying for them to store it for you. And because digital comics take up digital space the same way physical comics do. I mean, you only have so much space on your tablet, on your phone. My 10,000 comic, 11,000 comic collection will fit in. It takes up most of a room in my house, but I'd be probably spending, you'd be spending a couple grand on spare, expansion hard drive space to have the same amount in a digital format. So essentially you leave it on their servers and then you download it as needed, and then it deletes itself and you download it again and deletes itself from your device. But you essentially, unless you pay to store that stuff locally, you own nothing.
Shane Hollis says the cloud is not a thing. That's actually just somebody else's computer, and that means you own nothing. You're just renting space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's not some magical place. It's just some other dude's computer that you're connecting to.
Yeah. So Pele, you said for a long time you're not a proponent of digital because you don't own it. I say it will never work until it's a subscription model. Is this something that you expected to happen? Do you think it'll keep happening? Oh no, is Pele gone? Pele's gone. Let's throw that one to Drew.
So I've never been a proponent of digital media at the most, because the only time I really use it is on the weekends with my brother when we do our Comics for Newbies on our YouTube channel. And even then, I hate going through Comixology. To me, it's very finicky. It's hard sometimes to operate, to navigate through. Yeah. I've always loved physical. Physical media to me has always been the way to go. Even on road trips, I don't care how heavy my backpack's going to be. It's like I'm hauling trade paperbacks omnibuses with me, because who's to know if my phone shuts down or something happens.
Yeah.
Got my book right there. You know what? Yeah. So, yeah, go physical. That's all I'm going to say.
It sucks when like here in the Philippines, there's only comic shops in one city. I don't live in Manila, so everything has to be shipped, and then everything comes in at least a week late. You can't really do that if you have a comic book channel and you want to read comics and be able to be part of the discussion, and certainly if you want to review them, so you have to buy physical or buy digital. So it's kind of part of the gig here. But if I could, I wish I could get everything in physical. It'd just be easier. Although my wife would probably say no.
Though, as someone who's edited comics for Comixology Originals before, Comixology is great and easy to use. And I highly suggest people give it a shot and check out Comixology Originals.
A lot of people I want to interject there. Comixology's improved greatly. It used to suck. It was terrible. It crashed all the time, and it was awful. Especially now, it's gotten really good. And what's really also improved is Marvel Unlimited. It was terrible. Oh my God, that was the worst app an iPad. It crashed all the time. It was terrible. Android app is a lot better too. If you used to use them before, and you thought they sucked, you're right. But now they've gotten tremendously better, exponentially better. So give them another shot. I think the quality is great, especially on an iPad, fairly good sized tablet, like a 9 or 10-inch tablet or something. They're fabulous.
Yeah, I end up reading a lot of stuff digitally. I mostly just collect, hard copies, but just like editing comics, writing them, having people send you comps digitally, and different like friends of mine doing indie comics and sometimes big too, just sending you stuff. You end up just without even thinking, you end up having this big library of just PDFs. So I tend to prefer to just read it as like a PDF, and I'll use my fingers, expand, and if I got to read stuff, as opposed to like going with like a guided view. That's just how I prefer to do it. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I think once tablet prices go down enough, like if you can get tablets that are really good, for under 100 or so very easily, I think you'll start seeing more people go on these services. And as Marvel Unlimited and other things improve, I think more people will be into that. But yeah, I think the way to go is going to be similar to that like Netflix streaming model of people are going to rather just throw you a few bucks a month to read whatever they want instead of buying these individual comics, because especially with something like what happened with Madefire, if you bought the thing thinking you're going to keep it and then it shuts down and then you don't have access to it, you definitely feel burned in a way that you don't if you're just subscribing to a service and they pull something. I think people are kind of used to that now.
Yeah.
So, Doc, one of the things that Madefire was doing, and one of their innovations, was the motion book. Essentially, you were going to get a limited amount of animation within your comic story. I've read a few comics like this. When I first heard the concept, I said, that's amazing. That's the future of comic books as far as digital goes. But now that I've actually read a few of them, I think it's probably a bad idea. It doesn't really add a lot to the story. And if anything, if I wanted to watch something with animation, I would just watch a cartoon.
I agree completely. I tried. I remember when Marvel tried doing their Marvel motion comics, and they with the AR, ones where you'd take your phone out and you'd scan a certain panel, and it would augment reality for it. And then they tried it with, remember that Sam Alexander Nova #1 that was being released. You could buy it with you could buy it in the store, and then you got a code and the digital code, but the digital version was their motion comic on it. And I tried reading one of those, and it just it didn't work. It was glitchy as all hell. The motion made me nauseous trying to read it, and it just it didn't work. Like it doesn't work. You read comics for their frames, their individual frames. And when you start jumping between individual frames of a story and then animation and then back to individual frames, it's jarring. Just make me a goddamn cartoon if you want to make a cartoon.
Yeah. Kenneth Dowling says, I read digital. I think that's present tense. To keep up with today's comics, that's how I keep up with Cates or Zdarsky. If it's a classic book issue like Adams or O'Neill, I buy physical. So there you go. That's way to do it. I buy, me personally, if it's something that I have to have at this point, I buy trades physical, just because I have to keep up and being away from a comic shop, it's so hard to actually get the actual comics. So, does anyone else have anything to say about Madefire going down and the people that bought years worth of comic books through some of these apps that were depending on Madefire, essentially losing all their comic books?
I feel bad for them, but at the same time, they have to recognize, that's the thing that I will blame the comic industry, because they're still using the term buy your comics digitally. And you're not fucking buying, you're renting, you're leasing. It's indefinite, but all you're doing is renting them.
Everybody but DC and Marvel, essentially, if you buy the digital copy, you can download it as a PDF.
Yeah, I mean, even with Marvel and DC, you get a code for a digital. Like, in almost, I think, just about every comic I've bought in the past 10 years. Now, granted, I never pull that little digital.
But you can save those as PDF files. You can't download them like that.
Okay, I don't know, because I've literally never pulled a single one of those stickers. You know what? Honestly, but at the same time, that means you have to store them. The whole point of digital is the convenience of somebody else storing them for you. Once it comes,
you can have a terabyte hard drive, and it's not like that.
Yeah,
takes up anywhere near the space of the amount of comic books that you have physically.
But a terabyte hard drive attached to your telephone or your tablet is very inconvenient to take around your whole collection.
Yeah.
The only reason honestly, I don't even read prose books digitally. I will only use them when I'm going on vacation. And that's because I read, like, I'm weird. Even prose books, I read like 5 at a time, and I'll read like 2 chapters in this one, then 1 chapter in that one, then jump around.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I get bored partway through a book. It keeps the story interesting to me. And rather than carry 5 or 6 or 7 books, if I'm going to the beach and I'm just going to sit on a beach, drink beer, and read books, I'll just take a tablet for that. Yeah. But even then, unless I'm traveling, I still want a physical book, and I own it.
All right. Well, we got a few other topics to get to. Let's move on. Sorry about that. Doc went on a little rant there, but
it's okay.
This might be a Doc topic as well. We've got Invincible has been renewed for 2 more seasons on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
I know a lot of people have been loving this series. I guess it's a pretty faithful adaptation of the actual comic book. All right, Pele, you sound like you were very excited. What do you think about Invincible being renewed?
It's one of those things that it actually got me excited to watch comic book movies again. And I always kind of like the animated DC, films. Those are okay. Those are fine. They're nice. I put a couple of them on, and just enjoy watching them in the afternoon, or, we run them constantly at the store on a cycle. But for anything as far as indies, there really hasn't been anything great that's just rocked the world, and this is about as close as it's gotten, apart from what the hell was that with the Homelander and
The Boys.
Yeah, The Boys. Yeah, that live action, amazing. But as far as animated, this is it. I've really looked forward to this, and my wife and I sit down and we just binge watch the shit out of it, and it was fantastic. Really, really great series.
Yeah.
I don't know, Joe. What does this mean? Or do you think Amazon's going to be going out and looking for more of these types of series that are going to translate over well? It sounds like the viewers showed up.
I think they'll keep asking, Kirkman, like, hey, what else you got? Not necessarily just a blanket thing. But that's why you might start seeing maybe some random stuff coming over at Skybound, because Kirkman is like, I can shop this, like, because I think there's been, I'm blanking on some titles now, but there have been some things announced at Skybound that some people have like made comments of like, that's weird that's like not a main Image book and that's Skybound and stuff like that. And it's like, well, that's because Kirkman is like, I can shop this to Amazon, so give it to me.
I can see Firepower being one of those. I can see that being.
Yeah. So I think you're going to see more of that. Maybe other network. Maybe this will make Netflix and some other places be like, oh, we should look into doing more animated shows. Because the other thing with it too is, I mean, it's like an all-star kind of cast. Like they're all big names involved in it, so that also really helps, and that gets some people who maybe might be a little like, oh, maybe they don't normally watch cartoons, and then they see like the cast and like, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. And kind of like to what Pele was talking about, there's been a lot of misses in I think some of the non-Big Two adaptations. Also the Big Two adaptations, that's another thing, but
Well, when it comes to adaptations, LK asks a great question in the chat, and it's appropriate to interject here. It's been very, very close. The adaptation,
except for the girlfriend. Girlfriend is the one part that I hated.
Okay, look, they race swapped and made her more annoying and added a little, but for the most part, it doesn't. Amber's not really relevant to the series as a whole anyway. So, but for the most part, they didn't really change anything significantly.
Yeah,
and that I think is one thing that's very important in the success of this. You've had something that was very popular as a comic. The adaptation is pretty spot on. They haven't changed anything major. Like, Omni-Man in the comic kind of vanishes for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can do that in the series with still having J.K. Simmons keep the role. Like, do you just like write him out of all of season 2 and then bring him back for season 3?
Yeah.
Or so we'll see going forward with whether or not you don't have those kind of restrictions with a comic book. You can add that character back in whenever the hell you want. So we'll see whether or not they start adding, like, kind of bouncing around and editing for the next season or 2. But honestly, it's been successful enough that because it's a strong, faithful adaptation. I've seen some people complain about the animation, but honestly, I think it looks fine. I don't have any problem with it.
All right, Doc, I gotta jump in here.
Great.
We got Lane Kramer with the super chat. Thanks to Invincible, Bendis' Superman looks hopeful next to Omni-Man, and now I also want a Spider-Man story of J. Jonah getting Superman powers. There you go. Well, thank you very much, Lane, for supporting the channel. So Omni-Man is a very bleak character, but Superman essentially in Invincible.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a Superman stand-in. Yeah.
Despite all that, though,
he's like one step away from Homelander.
Yet at the same time, I don't think Omni-Man would have allowed his son to go with a lunatic relative into the future and get aged up. So
no.
Well, if his wife wanted to write a story, maybe he would have had no choice.
Yeah, no, there's that, but it's been interesting though. Like I've enjoyed some of these other smaller publisher adaptations. Not trying to bring it up for debate or anything like that, but like I enjoyed Umbrella Academy, but then stuff like Lock and Key and this trailer for Sweet Tooth. It seems like in both those instances, they're like, let's water down the horror and lean into like a YA kind of feel, and I hate that. My brother's girlfriend, he was trying to get her to read Lock and Key, but she saw the show and she's like, I don't want to watch that or read that. That show is awful. Like that kind of stuff. So I hope that we don't see studios, and particularly Netflix, I guess in this instance, be like, well, let's take this like horror comic and make it into a YA adventure. It's like, please don't keep doing that.
I mean, yeah. Just keep it faithful to the source material. There's a reason if you want the comic fans, the whole point of adapting it is so you have built-in evangelists for your product. So make it the thing that they want to evangelize about. Jesus Christ, this isn't complicated.
All right, Doc, I got to throw this one over to Drew. I've heard rumors that you cannot get your hands on an Invincible trade, omnibus, nothing.
As far as I know, they're sold out. Yeah, they're sold out. Yeah, they are. As far as I know, they are sold out, and I had to buy 3 of my compendiums from Sean. Actually, but yeah, this is a great example of a show being true to its source material and reflecting in the sales. We have seen the sales go up with this, which is terrific. This is how it should be done. Lock and Key.
It's the manga model where the anime is very true to life to the manga itself, and then it drives people back to the original source material because you can continue the story.
Yes.
Yep.
It's not over.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not over.
I think the publisher dropped the ball hugely. They dropped the ball as far as having the available supply.
I would say like the day of the show dropped, those first 2 episodes, I was on Amazon. I just saw the numbers available go down steadily. 5 available, 4, 3, 2, 1 gone. It's like
I don't think anybody predicted. They're looking at other people's success in translating books. Like the other media success of a adaptation into comic sales, and I don't think anybody had a clue that it was going to be that successful.
Yeah.
Well, Umbrella Academy, drove sales and things like that as far as reprints. So,
but
trades,
they're going to need to get on the ball, Doc, if they want to make some money.
But not at that same level. And Umbrella Academy it's a little more niche, whereas Invincible is pretty much. I mean, even people that aren't I'm not a huge cartoon fan, and I was still like all about this. And I know other people they're like, cartoon. I'm like, no, seriously, who cares? Watch it. It's great.
It's great reading the comments of the episodes, and people are saying, I didn't expect it to be that violent. It's so violent. Oh my God.
Yes. No, I mean, yeah. I'll even throw out another cartoon hot take for people. The new seasons of Simpsons, there's usually 1 or 2 pretty good episodes in these new seasons.
Yeah, that's why we watch seasons 4 through 12 when there was 22 good seasons.
4 through 10 for me.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get back on topic. We have Kenneth Dowling supporting the channel. Love the Invincible finale. So happy it got renewed. Drew, I'm with you, brother. Amber really pissed me off. Her attitude toward Mark in that previous episode triggered me. God, I love this show. Well, you know, he's invested in. That's what you want, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Amber's the reason why I dropped off the show. The first 2 episodes I loved. Episode 3, I'm like, I am done with this. I don't want any more part of this. And then my brother drug me back from the ledge. He's like, no, episode 6 is really good. His dad's trying to find him. I'm like, oh, this is great. The government's hunting down Omni-Man, trying to take him out. I'm like, finally we're back. It's redeemed itself. This is awesome. But I need to watch the season finale. I heard it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, it was really
it's
good.
Time to spoil it. We're going to talk season finale spoilers here, Drew. Get ready. All right. Anybody else have anything to say? Thank you so much to Kenneth Dowling for supporting the channel about Invincible being renewed for 2 more seasons.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see them halfway through next season get seasons 4 and 5. If they keep up the quality and it keeps driving sales, because this is a double whammy for Amazon. Yeah. They're driving people to their Prime service, and they're selling copies of the damn book. Like while you're watching, you can like hit the button to print to order them.
It's called a win-win, I believe.
I know.
All right, so we're supposed to have 2 more topics. We're gonna have to drop the Brian Michael Bendis' United Team thing.
Oh no!
No.
I'm sorry, guys. We're going along.
Just wait for that.
The favorite comic book collection thing everyone got excited about. We had so much stuff to do, but we do have DC Fandom 2021. I don't know, Joe. It seems like when they did it in 2020, they haven't actually released any of the movies other than the Snyder Cut since then. Is it just going to be DC Fandom 2020? You know, with the same movies?
Yeah. I mean, look. I hate these Zoom meeting cons. I'm not that into it, and I say that knowing full well that you are all watching a Zoom meeting right now, people talking about comics. And but I mean, the problem is when you do it this in terms of cons, when you're doing it this way, you're only getting like the panels at cons. You're not getting the full experience of getting to like meet artists, get sketches, get signatures, like hang out,
buy
with
back
with
issues.
people. Yes, exactly. And so you're not getting that. You're just really getting the panels. And the problem is panels are becoming less and less necessary every year as social media is being used more and more. Like, I don't have to wait online for an hour to get stuffed into a cramped room to have some creator just say, like, we have a lot of exciting plans for Batman. You're going to love what we do with Batman. We can't actually tell you what we're going to do with Batman, but here's a slide with a few panels of Batman punching someone. Who could it be? Come, you're going to have to buy the issue in 4 months. And, you know, like that's, it's not necessarily the best in terms of that, but it's good in terms of just unloading announcements, so that way we don't just get like trickles of announcements, because I can't keep track of anything anymore, and no one else can either.
It's not like the panels used to be like back in the day either, because I hate to say that, you know, because everybody's like, oh, everything's better back in the good old days, but you know, the Comic Cons actually were. You know, it's I mean, back in the 90s, the late 80s and 90s, you know, you'd get Dave Sim on a panel, and you had no idea what the fuck he was going to say. You know, I mean, you get him and his group, you know, up there. We're going to have Dave Sim for a panel at Chicago Comic-Con. We have insurance. And you don't know what was going to happen, and it was absolutely insane, nutty shit. And that was I feel bad that the younger generation can't experience stuff like that, you know. And it's, you know, where he's getting up, you know, and he's, you know, trying to explain why Cerebus, you know, molested somebody, and, you know, it's like, well, you know, and he goes on to a 40-minute diatribe about, you know, the Turkish government, and, you know, and you have no idea why, but yeah, they don't really need them anymore. I mean, if it weren't for the back issue comics and meeting the creators and getting signatures and stuff, I wouldn't even go to cons anymore.
Honestly, just to look through and maybe buy original art off somebody, being able to flip through their portfolio books.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's also great. That now it's what we got to track down their art dealer and see if the page that we might want, it might not even be up on their page. What the fuck? Come on.
And some of these pages are like GeoCities sites from the 90s. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
And, you know, but yeah, to Pele's point, they still do some creator spotlight kind of panels. Every once in a while, you'll get a gem. Usually it's like a Jim Lee or a Scott Snyder like spotlight, and not to diss those creators at all, but, you know, those tend to be like kind of fluff piece kind of things of like, Jim, how did you get into comics and that kind of stuff. But every once in a while it'll be like, oh, we're going to spotlight Howard Chaykin, and you're like, that'll go to, because, you know, I did go to a Howard Chaykin spotlight, and, you know, he's just walking around the room with the mic, and it's just like, ridiculous. It was.
I feel like the only way to make those kind of panels better is if somewhere right near between the podium and the audience, there's a giant bowl of cocaine, and he just stuffs his face into it first, and then you let him go.
Oh yeah, but oh my god, like Howard's a trip. He's great. Oh my god, it's I have a Lois Lane sketch from him, and you know, I've gotten to talk to him on a number of occasions. He's just he told this amazing story It might have even no. This was at a con, just at his table, about how much he hates Will Eisner, and he was just like, "I hate Will Eisner," just going off. And then he goes into this whole thing where it was him, Will Eisner, a bunch of other people. Jules Pfeiffer was there, and he's like, and Will Eisner was just busting my balls. He kept giving me a hard time. I got so pissed, I got up and left the table. And then Jules Pfeiffer followed me, and he went, Howard, you got to calm down. He's going to be dead soon. And then Howard ends this story with going, and by the end of the year, he was dead.
Oh, fuck.
Like I said, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, when you get those kind of, that's the thing that we're not gonna get at DC fandom.
Yeah,
because they won't throw those wild cards like the a regular convention. Oh yeah, they might make the mistake, but the actual the publishers doing their own conventions. Oh no, they know who the wild cards are, and they're like, yeah, we're not sticking that guy. We're not giving that guy a mic. This guy's got to be on a 10-second delay.
Yeah, this guy right here, he wears a lampshade on his head at the New Year's Eve party. He's not going to be talking at the and again, PC culture, that even compounds things. So it's just the way it is now.
I don't know. What do you think? Are you going to be watching DC Fandom 2021? Are you a fan of these online virtual conventions? Is he there?
Who?
Is Comic Book Hut still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of those things. I think that one thing about the conventions is you don't get these sort of human moments that Joe just said. It's sort of these, pre kind of. I'm going to say this. It's funny you mentioned that. I had gone to Comic-Con 3 years ago, and I talked to some of the creators, and I remember Peter J. Tomasi, nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he went on a rant about Tom King and Scott Snyder and how he didn't get any big events. And I was like totally blown away by it and shocked.
That's weird because they're rep by the same guy, so he must have been sitting right next to both of them.
Oh yeah, like 4 tables down.
Yeah.
And he
my respect for him just went up dramatically just then.
You missed that kind of a moment, or at the same con, I'm a big fan of Brandon Montclair and Amy Reeder. There.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
A Rocket Girl. So I gotten Amy's signature for my book at a different con, and that day Brandon was there, but she wasn't. She walked away. So it was just him and me. I asked him a couple questions, and he would not stop talking. When someone's talking to you, and there's no interruption where you can sort of go back and forth, and there's all right, I got to go. No, he kept talking.
Exactly what you're talking about.
And he's staring right at you. He's staring at you, and you can't but he's not looking at you. But if you walk, you feel uncomfortable about walking away, and there's nobody there. And I'm like, I'm trying to do like a Batman. I'm waiting for him to turn away and get out of there. He didn't do that.
Yeah.
You grab your phone, you look at it, you're like, oh my goodness.
I'm
my
like, what did I just do?
She's in the food court.
I can't get out of here. So at some point, some other guy walked up, and he looked at the guy, and I got out of there real quick. Now, you mentioned the panels. I was at the end of my day, and they had the DC Publishers panel. And I was like, I'll go to them, sit through it and whatnot. And Jim Lee came out, and Dan DiDio came out, and everybody was really clapping and cheering and blah, blah, blah. And they were talking about different things. They talked about the Frank Miller, John Romita Jr. book, Superman book that was going to come out the following year. And there were a lot of people there. So they introduced Brian Michael Bendis. He comes out. He gets a play applause. And people, including myself, got up and left as he started talking.
Yeah. But
I was like, oh my God, it's just not me that doesn't like his writing. But people, literally, I was like, I didn't even grab a toy. They had toys in the back. I was like, I'm getting out of here. But people were like picking up toys, going.
And BarCon's great too, depending on who you talk to. I was drinking with Brian Azzarello at a bar at San Diego Comic-Con, and at one point he just goes, "There's no such thing as a good comic. There's only less bad comics, and you just have to write the least bad comic you can write."
Nice. Inspirational words from Brian.
Yeah, no, I love how deeply cynical he is. There was right around when Aquaman came out, the movie, there was an interview with Ramona Fradon, and in the interview, she said, "You know, a lot of people used to say that Aquaman seemed gay, but I thought he was like Rock Hudson."
Oh.
And I mean, to this day, I think about that and laugh. And I'm talking with Tom Peyer and Stuart Moore at Baltimore Comic-Con, and we just spent minutes doing like fake spit takes and being like, "What do you mean Rock Hudson's gay? What are you going to tell me, Liberace's gay?" And just doing a whole bit at the bar, and like it was great, you know.
Well, they like the gala event.
You know, like, I'm not gonna tell her. She's like 94.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So we do need to say thank you very much to Jimmy from Comic Quirks for the $5 super chat. He says, "I love all of you." Oh wait, Doc is there. I love him most of all. If you haven't checked out Jimmy's channel, he's got a wonderful video on why he quit reading DC and Marvel comics. The ultimate optimist, the man that defended Bendis, has given up DC and Marvel. If you want to know why, go over to Comic Works after this video obviously is over and check it out. I think you'll enjoy that. It sounds like he's got a little game show that's going to be showing up on his channel here. I think it's going to be Comic Book Trivia in the somewhat near future, so definitely be looking out for that as well. We'll definitely get Jimmy back on the channel maybe next weekend. We'll see. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'm sorry I interrupted the fun stories. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Cons are ridiculous. I mean, it's also really great, depending on who you run into and all of that. There's also a lot of stories I can't share. That they wouldn't appreciate it. Where you're talking to someone and they're all about bashing this one creator, and then the creator walks over and you're all like, "Hey, how's it going, buddy?"
What's up, buddy? All right, Drew. So you guys sell a lot of high-end comic books and collectibles. Are you missing the con seasons where you could have a booth? Do you need that really to sell your wares, or is eBay enough?
We've already pre-signed up for I think 6 conventions. We're already getting ready for con season right now. We're gearing up. Yeah, we're ready. I'm gonna be running around like a madman. I mean, if you've ever been to a show, I'll be running around, getting signatures, going nuts, hearing those stories because that's part of the fun.
Kenneth.
Oh yeah, thanks.
I love hearing those stories. But for me, some of the best ones have been Neil Adams, Jim Steranko, and Chris Claremont. Hearing their stories.
Steranko. Oh my God, I could listen to him for days.
Yes.
The man.
Yeah.
We would go and talk to him at the signings, and then we'd go get a drink and we'd talk to him some more. And as long as you keep buying him vodka tonic or gin and tonic, he will sit and talk to you. So he's just amazing.
It's amazing how old he is, but he still has so much energy when he's at those shows.
That man still has the strongest handshake of anyone that I've ever felt, and that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, you make me look like a pussy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do need to say thank you to Kenneth Dowling. Have a great weekend, guys. Amber sucks, but still watch Invincible. Take care of peace, and thank you so much, Kenneth. We enjoy having you here on the weekends, and we hope you're going to be here next weekend. Do we have anything else to say about DC fandom, which basically turned into a telling stories about real Comic Cons in 2021?
It just shows. This isn't fun. I mean, you're going to be hearing controlled stories, narratives, controlled events being told. It's like, where's the fun in this?
No live interaction. You miss out on all the fun. So
there's no fun.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It was way more successful than San Diego Comic-Con at home was in 2020. Yeah. We'll see if they'll be able to keep that up. So I do have an update. I have a baby update. People are unaware. Yes. My wife is around 8 months pregnant, and we went to the doctor this week. We know when the baby's coming. It's going to be the first week of June. We've this is one of those things that has to be scheduled. So for that, I am getting prepared. I'm going to have at least 2 videos per day for at least 5 days out. So I will be prepared, but there won't be any news coverage and stuff like that. So in the first week of June, if you see something change about the channel, it's because I'm at the hospital and we have a new baby as part of the family. I will try to get some information out when that happens, and we are very excited and very blessed. And thank you all for listening to that part. Now let's get into. Thank you very much. The comic book recommendations. This will be the. It's on the ticker. Somehow I turned the comic book recommendations into a ticker. Whatever. We'll keep it there. What are you recommending this week, Joe? Because there was actually some damn good comics this week.
I mean, I must have not read a lot of them then, but I'm kidding. Okay. I liked Robin #1. It was solid. I'm trying to think. It's all like a blur. I'm trying to think. I read a bunch of stuff that came out. There's stuff from earlier in the month I enjoyed, like, I guess earlier last month at this point now, or in May, but. I thought Alien #2 the other week was a step up from the first issue. Yes. I thought Nottingham 2 from Mad Cave was solid. Shadow Man #1 is one of those, like, with like an asterisk, because it's very heavy in like the continuity and the lore. Like, there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of things related to Shadow Man going on in there.
It doesn't explain much of it. Like, you have to know Shadow Man.
Loved it.
Yeah. So maybe if you don't know, that's because I was like, I appreciate this, but I don't know how much other people are, because I'm at least somewhat familiar with the characters. I read the last run. I read the older stuff, but yeah. So definitely. Check that out. I think.
What do you think about Evil Black Cat's recommendation?
I think Beckstar looks great. I hear the writer's very handsome. A lot of good stuff like that.
There you go. So definitely be looking out for Beckstar from Mad Cave Studios, written by Joe Corallo. The art is by, oh my goodness, it's the new artist for Punchline. Sweeney Boo.
Sweeney Boo does the covers. Yeah, she's great.
And what was the interior artist? Is a new artist, correct?
Lorenzo. We got him off that platforms competition. His comic won a couple of rounds ago, and he was just great. He's an Italian artist. It's really, it's stylized. It's not going to be up everybody's alley probably, but I really like his stuff. He does all his own colors as well. It's a fun space adventure. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of drinking, and no one has a cell phone.
Excellent.
Definitely be looking out for Beckstar. I do have a super chat from Jasper Plan 9. Congrats, Wes. Paint your wall. I keep thinking that spot is on my iPad. So I know what you're talking about. My now 5-year-old, soon to be 6-year-old, went through a time where he peeled everything, including paint off of walls, and we were able to stop him a couple of times. And now that I have a soon to be 2-year-old and a newborn coming, I'm sorry, I don't have it in me, because I know they're just going to peel it off themselves. Why would I fix this? But I do apologize. I know the spots are there; they are a little bit embarrassing. But thank you so much for supporting the channel. We do have Yule Carter mentioning that you should be supporting Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith. Did anyone read that? Yeah. Was it good?
I have not read that yet. It's a tome.
Yes, it is very long.
Yes.
I will get to that, but also just a general read things Barry Windsor Smith has done.
Yes.
Do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some of the best Conan illustrations you'll ever see. All right, Comic Book Hut, what are you recommending this week?
Well, I did like Robin #1. That was pretty good. Also got the Action Comics 1030, which
it was the best issue of Superman in like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, Philip Kennedy Johnson did a very good job. I liked the conversation between Robin and Jonathan. It was very natural. It wasn't like this sort of cringy Bendis talk that he thinks kids have. So it was very good. And the artwork is by this new artist I've seen, Daniel Semperari. It's pretty good.
Yeah, he's terrific.
Really good. There's one drawing in this where you could feel Superman punching this. You really feel him punching this this outer spaceship was really nice. And I've been reading a lot of old stuff, a lot of collected editions. I got The New Gods by Jack Kirby. I have it in black and white, but I wanted to get it in color, and I want to review it and talk about it. So I got it in color a couple weeks ago, and they have extras in the back. I guess they had it in the original in 1970, and then he concluded the story in the 80s. And it's interesting to go through the artwork because you can see the change with him. His style is not nearly as refined. You see how he aged a lot with the artwork. Also, I read a couple of weeks ago. I read the West Coast Avengers, which I have in a collected edition. I had the original series, but this is the ongoing series from '85 on, and it's got the Thing in it, and it's done by Steve Englehart. And I would mention Steve Englehart because you and Eric Breen, who's one of my comic book buddies, had done a video last week.
Oh, and Joe Corallo was there.
Yeah.
Right. And you guys talked about the Avengers Defenders War. And I watched it on Thursday. And I ordered it on Amazon. I got it on Sunday. I got it on Sunday. And I'm going through this now. It's a lot of fun, exactly like you guys said. And I'll be going through this thing too. I read the first issue of this series. It's really good. It's really, I guess you guys said, and it's the first time these you had like two great big super teams at Marvel go up against each other, and it's a lot of fun,
Oh yeah, and that Bob Brown art, I think he's real. It's a shame he passed away when he did. Kind of as like his star, I felt, was really rising, and it's a shame. He did really good art.
Yeah, I'd never seen his artwork before, so this is a little bit new for me.
Yeah.
You said in the video that he worked at DC. What did he do again there at DC?
He followed Kirby on Challenges of the Unknown, and then he also did a lot of covers. He did all the covers or almost all the covers for Doom Patrol and some other books like that. It's and the Challengers stuff is really good. It's interesting that he followed Kirby like kind of twice, because I mean, taking over the Avengers later on, after Kirby had started, it's. Right. He had an interesting career. He also had one issue of Uncanny X-Men. Maybe it was 106. I'm trying to think. It was like a fill-in.
Who are we talking about? Sorry.
Bob Brown. It was an early Uncanny X-Men on Claremont's run that was a fill-in that it was like an inventory story that Claremont had to like bookend to make it make sense, where it was like a Danger Room story.
Yeah,
the guy through the camera. I think it's the cover. It's like the guy in the security camera watching them, kind of.
I'm trying to think. I think it was 106, but it's in that area. If it's not,
it's not 106.
All right, we don't have time for this, Doc. You know it off the top of your head. I do need to say to computer robots, spill it, Wes. Are you having a girl or are you having a third boy? We are having a third boy. We've got the name picked out. His name is going to be Eric, after Eric of Dacia from Valiant Comics legend, Jim Shooter, Robert Venditti, Matt Kidd, three of my favorite creators and three of the good guys in comic books. So we're very excited, very blessed, and we cannot wait to meet the little lad. Next up, we've got Jimmy from Comics Quirks. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Oblivion song, Firepower, Brubaker entirely. I agree with that. And Beckstar, written by the so-called Hanson writer that comes out this week. Great recommendations. We've also got Darth Bobcat supporting the channel. I've been buying more Image lately after I realized a lot of the series. The first trade paperbacks are for $10, cheaper than manga, and great marketing. It's definitely definitely a perk for reading in Image Comics. What else? Do we have any? Drew, what are you recommending this week?
So this week, Sean and I do our weekly reviews on Tuesday. We're reading 20 to 30 comics a week in one day. But my three are Beta Ray Bill #2. This was awesome. Batman Superman #17. Ivan Reis, his artwork is out of this world still. And Berserker #2. Just fun.
Absolutely.
I forgot to
mention. We have the exact same taste in comics. You guys keep recommending all the stuff I need to talk about. All right, Doc, what are you recommending this week? X-Men Legends #3?
Yes. I'm recommending X-Men Legends #3 and X-Men Legends #3 again. And then again and again and again. In fact, buy like 5 copies of it because it's that goddamn good. And give them to your friends and say, hey, remember when comics used to be really, really friggin' good? And then they'll like it, and then they'll go and buy comics because they're really friggin' good.
Then they'll go buy regular X-Men and be disappointed.
Yeah, then they'll go buy Children of the Atom and be very sad. Or Cable, because I recommend not buying Cable. But no, then I recommend, you know what, honestly, seriously, it's the best possible time to go fill in back issues, especially of not of like big series, but like little series that you never really read that you passed on in the past. Now is the perfect time because modern comics suck, and this is a better way to spend your money.
Yeah, I've jumped in on Master of Kung Fu by Doug Monick and Paul Galassi. Holy crap. Paul's art in that is nuts. I love that run. It's fantastic.
Joe, Jasper Play 9 wants to know, did you write it or did you read the editor on this Beckstar comic?
I wrote Beckstar, and then I'm in the middle of outlining another series, and I'm 3 issues.
Did you edit yourself on Beckstar, though?
No. I never edit
you would have
myself.
hired yourself. You would have had an award-winning editor on the book.
It's true, but no, I never self-edit. You learn that the hard way when you start self-publishing comics, which I did years ago, and you're like, oh, I can do that, and no, you actually can't. No matter how good you think you are, you can't edit yourself.
So thank you very much for that. Just you murdered that guy. What is Bottom Left Guy's YouTube channel? Bottom Left Guy's YouTube channel is Comic Book Hut, and he's a very good guy. He's got a lot of great content.
Well, remember though, Joe is technically Bottom Left Guy. Actually, no, wait. Drew is Bottom Left Guy.
Yeah,
I'm
usually down there. Yeah.
Yeah, that right. Yeah.
I think he means the one below me, though. That is Comic Book Hut, live from New York. He's a good guy. We used to talk about Valiant comics all the time back when they were good.
Yep.
And we finally got a Valiant comic worth recommending this week, in my opinion, Shadow Man #1. Mm-hmm. All right, Pele, what are you recommending this week?
Let's see. I'm going to. Oh God, it's. Yeah, probably Robin #1. It wasn't bad. Beta Ray Bill #2. That's right.
Yeah.
That's one I really enjoyed. That's really about it. Berserker #2 was great, but it's already been covered. So I'm gonna say Beta Ray Bill #2. That's the one we recommended at the shop, and Spawn was good. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he meant Bottom Left Guy, not the guy on the bottom left. Okay, yes. Drew, you don't have you guys have a Facebook page.
We have a YouTube page.
A YouTube channel as well.
Yep, Comics Elite. Just type in Comics Elite. Yeah, and we'll pop right up. You'll see Sean's bald, beautiful head show up. He's the owner and founder. Yeah.
So I apologize. You are Bottom Left Guy. I'm sorry. Comic Hut, they weren't asking about you, but go check out Comic Book Hut's channel as well. So you guys have taken all of my recommendations. This was a great week for new comics. Almost everything I read was worth recommending other than like one Image book, which I was surprised about. So the only thing left to talk about is Erratic #5, which is the end of the first story arc by Carrie Andrews. It's the beginning of the AWA superhero, like shared superhero universe. It's an excellent comic book. The art is amazing. We know he's going to be on Amazing Fantasy coming up at Marvel Comics, and then I imagine he'll come back for another storyline on Erratic. At least that's what he said. So I'm definitely recommending that. Go, if you didn't get to read it yet, just wait for the trade and get the whole thing. You're going to love that story arc. It's a wonderful introduction. Thank you, everyone, who supported the channel, who's been here. Thank you to all the panelists, to the viewers. Had a lot of great fun. And we will see you next weekend because the baby's not coming next weekend. We're going to wait 4 or 5 weeks.
That's what you think. That's what you think.
We scheduled it for a reason.
All right.